Hey, this is Christina Feliciano with Feliciano and Friends. Welcome. I hope you all had a blessed and beautiful day. I'm here today with Rachel Summers, a friend of mine and also a professional. And we're going to talk a little bit about where she came from, where she is today, how she got there, and like we've talked with MJ and Katie, be encouragement to maybe other females that are watching and kind of give you some tools of what you can do to achieve greatness. So welcome, Rachel.
All right. Hi, lovelies. Thank you so much, Christina, for having me on the show. I'm so happy to be here. I guess we could start with a little bit about me. I was originally born in Japan, and I came to the United States when I was a teenager. I do speak Japanese, and I am fluent in hiragana and katakana. However, I did not go to college there, so I did not learn like business conversational kanji or anything like that to that level, but I am fluent enough to converse, casually.
That's
And
interesting. All right. So do you read it at all?
I do read hiragana
Okay.
and katakana. So there's three main forms, and there's hiragana, katakana, and kanji. I
Okay.
read the two older ones, and kanji is the one that has like that people get tattoos over. I can
Okay.
read some kanji, but not all of it. So
That's interesting. The reason I ask you is because I'm bilingual as well with Swedish and English, but I can't read it really, or I can't write it at all. I can read it just a little bit, but so how did you learn? So you were in school in Japan. So
Yes.
okay, so that's why.
it was something that I learned in school, and the schools there they also do teach like basic English.
Okay, that's not
but
Sweden.
I also grew up speaking both languages in my household, so
Okay.
I kind of had like an advantage. I think that just I naturally most of it was intuitive by the time I was school age.
Do you think in both languages?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that wild?
Yes.
And do you think a little bit differently in the languages?
There are certain words and
Yeah.
phrases that don't translate. I dream in both languages. It's hard to explain, but yes, I do. There are some words that come to mind, and I'm like, there's no such thing.
Give me an example, please.
Okay, so this is perfect.
right.
Kinose. Kinose is kind of like that can't be right, or I'm tripping.
Okay.
It's kind of like that, and I'm
Is it like,
like,
nuh-uh?
"Kinose." Yeah, it's kind of like that, like nah, like that. Nah, something ain't right. It's kind of like that, like
Is
something.
it
ain't
calling
right.
out somebody on something?
It's more something you would say to yourself. So that's more of
Oh.
like an internal
Okay, dialogue,
I would
okay.
have. And then, the next thing I say in English would be like, what's going on? Or something
Okay.
to that effect.
That's interesting.
And then there's this YouTuber who goes around Japan, and it's so funny. He asks people what their favorite phrase is. And
Yeah.
my favorite phrase, that probably the one that I say most in my head, like
Yes.
all day long, is "maiya,"
Okay.
which directly translate to whatever, that's okay, or fine, that's okay. But
Okay.
what it really means is like, forget it, never mind.
Okay.
It's not like a polite way of saying it's okay.
Okay.
It means it's okay, but it means
the translation means it's okay, but actually what it means in Japan isn't.
yeah, the context you would use it in is like, never mind, forget it.
Okay. And then when you came over to the US, was it difficult?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I am mixed. For those who don't know, I am Black and Japanese. Those are the two primary things. I mean, I did an ancestry test. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we're all mixed with,
Okay.
but those are my two primary cultures. And so when I was in Japan, I was more like revered. It was one of the two. I was either revered or I was like fetishized for being darker skinned and mixed with like curly wavy hair, bigger lips. I did not look like the other girls. So the shocking part is when I came to America, I was like, oh my God, I'm Asian. And
Because you were in Japan, you weren't Asian. I mean, you were Asian, but you
not
were.
to
I
them.
understand. I understand.
So then it's like when I
yes.
came here, everybody was like, "You're Asian," and I was
Yeah.
like, "I am.
Yeah.
I'm Asian," and I
Yeah.
was like, "Well, I mean, I guess I am."
Yeah.
And it was just the complete opposite. Like, it was really funny. I did not feel Asian until I came to America. Oddly enough.
Yeah. So how, like, do you sometimes feel, I know for myself, I sometimes feel like I don't really like belong in any like genre, because I always kind of joke, and they'll be like, you'll see on my Facebook where I'm like, I'm half Southern redneck, half Swedish, which is true. But then I also grew up in the North Atlantic in Maryland, had a farm when I was little, and then went to prep school outside of Baltimore. And then I have studied at Oxford, but also lived in a trailer. So I've had all these life experiences that sometimes I feel, and I don't know if you can relate to this, that like there's not like a group. I mean, that I super can identify with. Like a little bit I do in all of them I do, but not like one. And sometimes that's difficult for me.
Absolutely. It was much more difficult when I was like a child, school age. It was harder fitting in. I think as I've gotten older, there's a lot more acceptance. There's a lot more awareness. People are becoming more accepting and interesting and respectful of other people's cultures. And I think that plays a huge part.
Okay.
But when I was younger, we won't say about when, but when I was a school-aged girl, it was a lot tougher then than it is now. And also I'm an adult and people mature, so that plays a factor too. But definitely it's hard to identify because when I was there, I didn't feel like I was Japanese enough. And then coming here, I many times feel like I wasn't American enough to be, accepted.
Yeah. And have you been in Florida this whole time?
Yes, I've traveled some temporarily. Okay. I've worked, a couple months here, a couple months there, but my permanent residence has always been in Florida.
Okay, that's cool. And then always Jacksonville?
Always Jacksonville.
Okay. Right. So, all right. So you're beautiful. I know that you've done some professional modeling and that you also are doing some voiceovers now. And that's something until you recently talked about it, it's like I know, like I know that there's an occupation of voiceover, but I don't know anything about it. So if you can explain what it is to voiceover and how you got into it, like I don't know anything. So please educate me.
Sure. So there's like many different types of voiceovers. You can be a voiceover actress or actor. You can be like a narrator, or you can even do voiceover instructional videos, which is kind of where I started when
how did you get into this?
With the instructional videos, I've always worked at corporations, and I've always fortunately had the background that was able to put me into positions where I could train people, and I could create like SOPs and QRGs, and if you don't know what those are.
Yeah, what are those?
SOPs are standard operating procedures. These are documents that a lot of corporations use that will say
compliance.
Yeah, for compliance and following things, and then it goes through a whole legal team for approval, and then it comes back and I'm like, okay, finally I'm done. Next. Yes. And then QRGs are quick reference guides, and those are more for like if you're already familiar with the procedure, but we've made an adjustment, we're gonna send this out. So we're making an adjustment to this procedure. And then usually they get changed or updated or reviewed annually. And sometimes for those employees who maybe, couldn't read, they're blind, and they needed an audio recording, I would read out the step-by-step instructions. So I would also had the experience of just basically reading instructions for my day job is where it started.
Okay, and then someone was like, you're really good at that. You should do it professionally. Yes. That's pretty cool.
It was cool because people would have me read for other departments.
Okay.
And I was always told I had a great phone voice. When I was, this is probably before that, when I first started, I was in customer service phone roles, and I would answer the phone and be like, thank you for calling so-and-so. How can I help you today? And I would always get scored really high, like really good.
Okay,
and so they would always use my
voice
calls as the examples, like this is what you want to sound like when you're on the phone.
Okay, very cool.
And so I think it really probably started there, but then as I grew out of like those frontline, like entry-level customer service roles, I realized, I can also make things sound pretty easy for somebody who's never done it before, and I really wanted to get into training, and that's where I spent most of my time.
Okay, so
as far as corporations were.
So the corporation started you with the voiceover, or somebody told you?
Yeah, that's when I realized, I think I really enjoy this. It's more fulfilling for me because I know I'm helping somebody who needs to learn a different way, who can't just read something that I wrote. And I also liked the opportunity to leave a little personality in there. For example, when we were changing processes, I would explain the new process and I'll be like, okay, that makes sense, clear as mud. And I was able to give a little personality into it, while I was training, even though I know it's probably somebody who's going to be listening to it 10 years after I've left the company.
Right.
I wanted to be able to give it a little A little personality. I didn't want to sound like a robot,
And it probably makes it like more interesting to the person training too.
And that's it too.
Yeah, because sometimes those things are very dull.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep them
it's
awake
pretty dry, exactly.
while they're learning the new process.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So do you do it for multiple corporations?
No, just for the ones that I work for.
But there are more than one? Are you the contractor? Or
I was a contractor.
Okay.
So I contracted for multiple banks. TD Bank was like one of my favorite places that I've ever worked.
Okay,
like
very
the greatest
cool.
people I've ever worked with. ViStar was another one. Their building is gorgeous. That's the place like I did not want to leave. I was like, oh my God, can I just stay here? It's so nice.
It's so wild because like when I thought of voiceovers, I was thinking more like for cartoons or animation. Absolutely. Is that what everybody thinks usually?
Absolutely. Okay. That's what everybody thinks. And that is something that I never thought I could do.
I think you could do it. You're doing it, right?
I'm doing it now.
I definitely think you could do that. For sure.
At that time though, I thought that's just such a far leap for me. I could never do that. Where am I going to find the time? And so I never. It's something that I secretly always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I never voiced it. And then there's that fear of failure. You don't want to talk about, doing something new. You don't want to post about doing something new.
Until you
getting
do it.
started is really hard and a little bit scary at first. But.
So how did you get started with that?
So this is a really good question, and this is what everybody asks me. Everybody asks me, so if I want to be a voice actor, where do I get started? And I always tell them, start within your current network. Start with people you know now. And if you don't know people, introduce yourself to people. You have to network for yourself for whatever it is that you're trying to do. Every single voice acting gig that I have that ended up being mainstream, that ended up being one of the best paid jobs I've worked, all of them came from me reaching out to that person and just saying, hey.
No, I'm happy that you bring that up because I think it's so many people ask like, well, how do you have these connections? I'm sure for you too, but it's like you just do that. You reach out. And then also, do you get rejected?
Oh, sure.
I get rejected too, and you keep going. You keep asking, and like
I get ghosted probably more than I get rejected. But I have had people say like, no, we're not really going that direction. I'm just like, that's great. Well, if you ever change your mind, let me know. You guys do a great job. I love your stuff anyways. And I think I've had people that have rejected me that have come back and brought me referrals. Like, hey.
No, and I think it's just important because I do think like, especially when like we're on social media or people are seeing, they just see the highlights. So I think that people don't understand either. Izzy knows because she works with me. Even with sales, how many people that I ask might want to purchase something that are like, no, I'm not interested. Or all of these reels that I might purchase or, that I might post that like maybe 100,000 people viewed and maybe 100 people, like, the percentage is like 0.5% of people that actually responded. Or, I have 100,000 people that have viewed my profile and only 3,000 followers. That means a lot of people are viewing and not necessarily, liking.
It's very similar to voice acting work, what you just described. So you're selling a product. You're selling a tangible product. Or if you have like a brick and mortar building, I'm selling a service that I create. Yeah. But when I go to sites, and we'll talk about the specific ones that I found that are best for, getting actual jobs, but my day looks like after working all day at my desk job, I come home and I take pictures and I do some silly reels too. But when I'm trying to find a new voice acting gig, a lot of it is just I'm reading, audition scripts. I'm converting them to MP3, and then I'm uploading them, and then I'm waiting to hear back. And maybe one of them might take about 15, 20 minutes, and some of them can take up to an hour. I would say unless you've worked with them before, or unless you've got like a name for yourself, I wouldn't invest. I would focus on the smaller ones, but we can get into that more later. But it's a lot of free work. It is a lot of unpaid labor. It is like owning your own business. It's being your own boss. You are working for free until you get paid, and you don't know if you're going to get paid, but you still have to put in 100% effort into that work and make sure that your service or your product that you're delivering is quality, because that could be your big break. You never know.
And that's where I think too is that I always I read different books about success, but I think it's like the odds too. If you keep on trying, eventually, I've said this is like always talk about like the bullseye and just like throwing darts, and eventually, hopefully, you'll hit a bullseye. But if you don't,
Absolutely.
just keep on shooting. And I think that a lot of people, they just get discouraged so quickly. And how do you not get discouraged? Like, how, when things don't go your way right away, how are you able? What do you do to keep on going?
So
Like, what makes you resilient? Or I know that you're resilient, but how are you so resilient?
I guess I'm very stubborn. I'm very stubborn, and if I set a goal
When's your
for
birthday?
myself, I November 14th. I'm a
Okay.
Scorpio.
I'm a Taurus. Okay, go on. Sorry.
But I'm very stubborn. So
All right.
if I set a goal for myself, I will take a break. I will rest if I get discouraged, and I will come back and I will just keep doing it again, because I am the type of person that I cannot sleep at night if I don't feel like, hey, that couldn't have gone there's nothing else I could have done.
Okay.
If I sit back and I play scenarios again in my head and I'm like, I could have approached that person differently. I could have worded this differently, or I could have just not even talked about pricing. I could have just asked if they wanted to collab with me. So when I start going over those scenarios, I just tailor my approach, and I try things different. I try new things. I try to reach out to, if I can't reach the production company, then I will try to reach out to the artist. The artist doesn't book the voice actor, but they might know who does.
Okay.
So a lot of it is, I would say, strategic approach, and then changing and tailoring my approach based on the situation, because everything is so different in the realm of voice acting, whether it's narrations, whether it's animations, whether it's, instructional guides. I recently did a commercial for a friend of mine who is shooting some B-roll for a medical service, and we don't have like an exact medical service in mind, but we went ahead and shot the commercial, and I did the voiceover for that. And there's a lot of, not to get too overwhelmed here, but there's a lot of different types of styles. Like, you can't, when you're reading a script for like an ad or for a commercial, you can't really be there's not really room for being creative in that sense, which is why I'm more into the animation or being in like an animation setting or reading from mangas.
So with the character acting or voiceovers, how does that work? So do you do different voices? Can you do different voices, or not on the spot?
I can. I am not good at on the spot. I'll be completely honest. I'm not good doing on the spot voices, but I actually have a process where I kind of take time, and I
method act.
Yes, I really do. It's like, I can't just do it. I need a moment, because for me, I kind of do go to this like kind of dark place.
Okay.
And that helps me create and connect with the characters that I portray, because I do mostly horror. And
so give an explanation. You don't have to do the voice, but so give an example of a character that you would do a voiceover for, because this is all kind of Greek to me, and probably some of our audience, because this is new stuff.
So one of the characters that I have voiced in a YouTube recreation video of like an OVA, which is like there are certain clips of a popular anime, for example, Attack on Titan. There are certain clips that never made it to the series, but the artist, they're like, they recorded it. Just like stuff gets edited out all the time for movies. So for a friend of mine, I recorded a voiceover of Mikasa, who is in this series. She is a girl who is in love with Eren, who is the main character, but Mikasa cannot allow herself to be distracted from the mission, and also she has to kind of constantly save him from himself and other threats in the story. So she's a very focused, a very hardworking person, but there comes a scene where Eren gets taken away from her, and she just loses it. Like, she loses all composure. She forgets she doesn't care about anything at that point. And that's when you realize, like, her raw emotion, like, she's so composed throughout the entire series, and in this one scene where she thinks that he's dead or being taken away to be killed, she just breaks all the rules. She doesn't care. And that was a very climactic scene for everybody who's a fan, because we're like, okay, she really does love him.
Yes.
And for me to like break into that, I do kind of think I have to kind of tap into some heartache sometimes where I felt somebody was taken away from me, where I didn't want them to, or I felt they were taken away too early, and it helps me connect with that pain or that rage or that sorrow. In her case, all three.
Yeah, because
when it happened.
I didn't even think about really all the animation that I've watched my whole life is that it really is acting. I mean, of course, intellectually, but so you to really get those emotions. Were you an actress before this? Did you ever do? No?
I've never done screenplay before. I mean, I've done some things recently, like commercials here and there. I've only ever done voice acting though, and I just feel like I can immerse in the character more when they don't look like me.
Okay.
I feel like I have more flexibility and I can just read a script and see what they've been through, and I can find times in my life where I can relate, but I find it more difficult to portray somebody when I'm like, on screen.
I understand.
It's probably why I struggle with doing it on the spot, because
Okay.
I'm like me right now. Hold
And
on.
then do you do different voices?
I
Okay. And do
do.
voiceovers, will they do different accents and different,
I do different accents.
Okay.
If you ever have me back on the show, like
Yeah.
I do eventually want to get to a point where I can do like an on the spot demo.
Okay.
Because I do go to networking events and
Yes.
everybody asks me that, and I'm like, so.
or at least get like one character, something where you can just be like a couple of different voices.
Absolutely, but
Yeah.
when people do listen to my demos, they're like, that's you. That's the same person. That's you, because I have a Japanese voice.
What we can do too is if you provide demos for us at this part in the juncture, we can play some for them to listen to.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
would be great. That would be great.
なぜ指は取れない。絶対生きてる。絶対エレンは生きてる。
And then I have like an American English vernacular voice.
Okay, so yeah, and how did they just like come about all of a sudden, or did it take a couple years, like one by one, these characters? Are they characters, or is that wrong for me to say?
No. It's they
Or are they just kind of different voices?
They're kind of different voices. Now, if somebody will come to me and they'll tell me, "Can you sound, more young or more
Okay.
silly?" I
Yeah.
will get feedback, and I'll usually do a sample, and then together me and the creator will agree, like, okay, that's it. That's what I want this character to sound like. That sounds like this person. That's what I'm looking for. But I do have kind of like a base 3, or I'll just get a sense of the character and I'll go with what I feel like they would sound like.
Okay.
And then we work and tweak from there.
That's cool. So what would you like your dream job as a voiceover?
My dream job would be to voice action fighting Japanese anime and video games. I'm really trying my hardest to break into like indie video games.
Okay,
so if there's
that's
any
really
devs
cool.
out there, holler at me.
No, I'd love that. And then for the Japanese, is it translation then that you're doing for the? Okay.
I can help with translation, but I can do both.
I guess is it dubbed is what I'm asking. Is it like Japanese and then they're bringing it here and then you are voiceover in it in English? Is that?
I'm voicing it in Japanese.
Oh, you are voicing the Japanese.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that maybe you were doing translation as well.
I can do both though.
Okay, that's right. I wasn't sure. Okay, that's why I'm asking.
And I think that's very important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay,
because
I wasn't sure.
That is something that I think does give me an advantage.
Okay.
Whenever I'm like promoting myself, or whenever I'm talking about what I offer, or
Yes.
what makes me stand out versus somebody else's. I'm like, okay, well, if you have any English projects, I can
Yeah.
help you with that too. Or if you have any Japanese projects, I can do both.
Okay.
So I think always rely on your skills or whatever you can do to help you stand out more.
So for the Japanese projects, are they Japanese companies or okay, that's cool. So and then you just have the connections through.
So the 3 websites that I use the most, well, aside from social media,
Yes.
and, Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that, there's a website called voices.com. Voices.com has a platform where voice actors can view auditions for all languages, like literally every language on the planet. I didn't even know there was
Okay.
that many, so many.
Wow.
But I've set up my profile to where I can view jobs that are in Japanese or jobs that are in English.
Okay.
And then there's another website called ACX where they hold the auditions. If you know what Audible is.
I do know that. I do know. I listen to Audible. I have that. I do know.
Those voiceover actors, they audition for certain books on this website called ACX.
Okay.
And ACX also can be done in any language because Audible, some people want to read a certain book in a different language, especially if it's very popular.
Okay. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So
okay. That's really interesting.
Those are also that just brings you more, it just funnels more opportunities your way.
Okay. And what website was that you said?
acx.com and voices.com are the two best ones that I've worked with. I've yielded the best results. I've yielded actual jobs and paid gigs, and
okay.
I think it's the best way to get started.
So is that how people would find you for the voiceover? Or
yes.
how? Okay. So
my demos and everything is on my voices.com
And is it under Rachel Summers?
It is.
Okay, very cool. And then I also wanted to ask you about, I know that you have a big social media following and that you, correct me if I'm incorrect, like if I'm wrong, but do you do like Amazon, can you explain that? Because somebody recently was telling me about like the Amazon stuff, and I'm not doing it, but if you could explain what you do and how you got into it, that'd be really.
Sure thing. So,
because I was plugging some of these and they're like, put it on your Amazon store. I'm like, I don't have one.
I mean, you do. You literally have one.
Okay.
I can show you on your phone.
Okay, well, I'm not using it then. So please explain. Please educate me.
You're not using it. It's called your Amazon storefront. And basically, Amazon has their own social media presence where you can review an item that you purchase, and you can say like, hey, this item works great, it's 5 stars. You can take a video of it, you can upload how to use it, because that's I feel like there's a lot of mystery ordering something online, and then you're like, you can do demos of how big it is, it's perfect, it's true to size, it says what it does, what it says it's going to do, and people can click on that item from your profile, and when they do, you earn a commission credit. And you can choose for it to go to a bank account, or you can choose for it to go to an Amazon credit. Where you can just, keep
and anybody can do this. Like I can do this.
Anybody can do this.
So I'm gonna Izzy tomorrow.
Make an Amazon storefront
No, for sure.
account.
No, I will. Okay, no, that's really cool because I was talking I was like, oh, I got this on Amazon, and they were like, put it on your account, and that's cool. So how do you do pretty well with that, or is it just because I know that you're all over social media?
I do most of my social media, like posting, paid collaboration work is actually working directly with clothing companies that are not on Amazon.
Oh, because I've seen that. So tell me a little bit about that. Because I know that you're promoting, you're beautiful. I'm just not that versed and educated. So I know it sounds silly, but just educate me because I don't know.
So remember when I said what I've always done, what's always worked is I just go out there and put myself out there. So I would just go to companies and say, hey, I would like to model your clothes for you. If you have anything that's out of season, or if you have anything that, maybe is just like collecting dust in your warehouse, you would like to send it to me, I can take professional pictures, and I will send them examples of the types of pictures I take and say, and I'd love to tag you and, share my platform and share your product with my friends. I think a lot of my friends would like the style that you have. Now, I would only, of course, pick out companies of clothes that I really meant that to, because it means I have to wear it. And
and they have to tag. Yeah, exactly, to promote it. No, I understand. Yeah.
So that's how I started out. And one of the companies that I messaged back in 2016 was Shein. So back in 2016, I messaged this company that I knew was based in China, and they were one of the first companies I've ever worked with. And they were like, yeah, that sounds great. We'd love for you to just promote our clothes. And,
very cool.
I also work with Cupshe. I've also worked with Fashion Nova. I've also worked with Pretty Little Thing. I've also worked with Chic Me. There's a lot of different companies, but I would say the company that has treated me the best is Shein, because I've just been with them for so many years.
9 years then now, right? Yeah. Okay, very cool.
So right now I will say Shein is not taking on any new collaborations.
Like it's all mine.
No. It's really, it has, I don't want to turn political, but it really has more to do with like the tariffs and the taxes and stuff. And so, you know, I would say all of the companies that are based in China right now are probably in a phase of reevaluating and restructuring their compensation and their collaboration, you know, plans. So it's probably on hold. But I mean, don't still reach out.
No,
I'm not saying if anybody's out there, please reach out, chase your dreams. I'm not saying don't do it, but you know, just setting expectations. But yeah, I've been with them for so many years, and now it's like I cannot believe how popular they've gotten.
No, they're super popular. No, it's
I
amazing.
Can't believe it.
So what would you advise? So, you know, a lot of girls are, let's say they're young or any age, like the one thing online to make money, people always think is like OnlyFans, right? So besides that, because that's not something to each their own, but besides OnlyFans, what are other ways that if you are a man or woman, but clearly female, and let's say you have like a full-time job and you're like, you know what, I'd like to do a little side hustle. I don't have the money for, you know, brick and mortar overhead. What can I do maybe online outside of OnlyFans to generate some income? What would you suggest?
So outside of OnlyFans, I would say you can, a lot of people kind of glamorize doing the whole, like, I want to be an influencer thing.
Yes.
You can do that, but don't limit yourself to that. If you have things that you are good at making. I've seen people make money off of cooking shows. I've seen people that, you know, they make desserts and they just post, you know, where they don't have a food truck, they don't have the overhead for that, but they'll just bake like 3 dozen cookies and say, hey guys, I've got strawberry lemonade cookies with white chocolate, something unique, and that you're like, you know, like I might check that out and I'll try that. I've seen people just reselling things on Facebook Marketplace. They will go to Facebook Marketplace, they will buy pallets or bulk items of things, and then they will just make bundles. Like I've literally seen this, and I've literally bought from people who do this. They make like, you know, laundry bundles, and then they'll have like diaper bundles, or you know, like just like little house gifts, or gently used clothes. There's a huge market of gently used clothes in Facebook Marketplace. And I've seen girls like put outfits together and then sell those. And that type of resource, like you can literally, all you need is a phone. All you need is a phone to start with doing things like that.
Okay, no, I agree. So we already talked about the Amazon. That's what, I mean, obviously it takes a little bit of money because you have to buy whatever the product on Amazon. But then the other thing that, if I'm understanding correctly, which I agree with you, is purchasing things, whether it be, I'm assuming, let's say like an Amazon or like a Dollar Tree, something inexpensive, and then bundling. And basically then you're going to charge more than what you paid for it. And then can you are you seeing people just sell it like locally then? Okay.
Absolutely.
What is your opinion of Etsy? And did I say it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Etsy is, I love it. They have some beautiful products on there. I love everything. I love anything that's handmade, but what I will say is, you know, if the top of the conversation is we're talking about doing, you know, like low cost ways to start, anything handmade is not going to be low cost.
That is true.
And a lot of the beautiful, like I've seen like rhinestone bathing suits, and I'm like, that's really cute. $500. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably worth it. I'm not questioning the quality, but that's not, I mean, obviously there's somebody out there that
is willing to purchase it.
But I can't think of anywhere where I'd wear a $500 bathing suit.
Vegas?
I mean, yeah.
Anywhere,
There'd have to be a bachelorette party involved or something.
Right. Oh, and then any other things? I'm just trying to think, because I feel like it's obviously influencer, OnlyFans, and then those are a very unique niche. And I do always want to, and I don't know it always, but like to try to encourage like what people can do that have maybe not the education or not the resources. So I do definitely think, obviously, purchasing things at lower prices and then trying to sell it for more, that's kind of how the world goes around.
One of my favorite things recently, and this is going to sound kind of silly, but one of my favorite things that I've recently found myself just like watching is get ready with me videos.
Okay.
It's like hashtag GWRM.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you're just getting ready for your normal work day. Nothing special. You're not getting ready for like a big fancy event, but as you're getting ready, you're like, there's a couple girls I follow, and
Yeah.
they're talking about things that are relative within their field, like if they're talking about their relationships, or certain moments where they found growth, friendships. They're talking about setting healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those do so well, and they're
Oh,
just doing their makeup, and they're not professional makeup artists.
yes.
They're not professional stylists. They're just talking, and I guess it gives me a sense of like I'm in the room with them, and we're just hanging
Yeah.
out as girls, and they're getting ready, and we're talking, because that's what we do in
Yeah.
real life when we get ready together.
And they're just authentic.
It's very authentic, and I think that's another very underutilized thing that anybody can start out doing.
That I agree with. And so there was a thing about authenticity. So I'm gonna probably not explain it as eloquently as it was when it was explained to me, but they did this like thing, because we all have like vibrations and energy, right? Like this is not like woo woo, this is like scientific. We have energy
Right.
that we release, and they were fielding energy, and the thought was that the highest energy form was going to be love, as far as like vibrational frequency, because love makes. But then they were noticing, they were doing vibrational frequencies, they were interviewing people for different things, and they were noticing sometimes like bursts of anger was having high frequency and different, and they were trying like, what is the common thread? And the common thread was when people were being their authentic selves, they were having the highest frequency. So whether that be love, or I mean, not that that's always good, because if your authentic frequency is not negative, but it did have to do with just being yourself, and that frequency basically, is the highest. And it's sometimes hard though when you're a professional to be authentic, because you have to, like, at least for me, I have to mask some things because I don't need everything to be for the world. But I do definitely think that gets people in. And then also, what is your other job, or do you full time just do voice? Not just, that's not.
Oh no, I do have my full-time day job. Right now, I handle bidding and procurement for jobs in the city of Jacksonville. I work with
Okay.
a lot of prime contractors. I work with a lot of utility companies. I work with JEA, and I work with um, pretty much managing and procuring all of the materials, all of the any subcontractors needed to complete construction jobs or upgrade jobs in the Jacksonville area, and having everything ready for that project. And then once I do, I have a project manager who's over me, who then takes over, and then they kind of manage the project. Sometimes things happen, especially in construction, and then it takes more people to do damage control to come in, and maybe we have to order new parts, or maybe there's something that we didn't think we needed, or something. Once we get in there and open it up, we realize, okay, this all needs to be replaced. So I deal with a lot of that. It's like pretty much what my day-to-day looks like.
Okay. And then you're still modeling as well,
Yes,
right?
I am.
Okay. And then how would someone book you for modeling?
I would say just message me.
Okay.
And, again, that's not something that I'm like really actively pursuing, but I am down to collaborate with people and model for them. If you're really good, I'm not going to say no, but if it's not something that I'm like actively pursuing, but if it's somebody local, and you got a good portfolio, then let's work. I mean, you might know somebody that can help me in another area.
And I can say from personal experience, I have collaborated with Rachel with the Alpha Clinic, and she's been so gracious and really done so much, like really above and beyond, to really try to promote my small business. And it's really touched my heart, because other people are like, I'm going to promote you, and they do like maybe one video, and Rachel, like, just on her own is like so dedicated. She does it so many times. She's tagging me, and it's not like she doesn't have to keep on doing everything that she's doing, and she's just like continued to do it. And at the beginning, I told her, I'm like, sometimes I collaborate, and I was like, I don't really do like contracts or anything. I'm like, the person says that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, great. If they don't, then and like Rachel is like times 10, 100 done what she said she was going to do to try to help Alpha. And we really appreciate that. Izzy too, because she's working there too. So I do really appreciate you being a client, a friend, and also just like businesswoman that you've really made an effort, and this is like your personal page, or so like this is you putting your name to me.
Absolutely.
And that really like touches my heart, because that's not something that you have to do, and it's something that you've been willing to do, and you've been really consistent. And I know sometimes too, like in Jacksonville, I'm a little bit polarizing, and you've been really kind and gracious and stood by me and continued to do that. And I just want to say thank you very much, Rachel. And then to wrap up, just again, plug anything that you want to plug. Anyone that wants to book you, just get that information, and then hopefully I'll see you again soon here and on that
definitely.
side.
I think what we can do is this is going on YouTube, right?
YouTube and Spotify.
Okay, so we can do like a pinned comment with my social media handles. If you ever want to book me, the fastest way to get a hold of me, I cannot stress this enough, is email. My email address is in my profile.
Okay.
Just hit the button that says email and email me. If you message me in my direct messages, don't get mad. Don't get mad if I don't respond.
She's very popular.
There's
lots in the DMs.
There's a lot going on there. I don't think I've checked my for Instagram. I don't think I've checked my DMs for like 3-4 years.
Oh my goodness.
It's just you could like scroll, and
Wow.
it's just unmanageable.
Yeah, no.
And if I could invest in a social media manager that was, reputable,
Yes.
I would. But it's just I just tell people, email me.
Right. All right.
Do it. Don't message me in my DMs. I'll never see it.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.